Good morning. It's the start of a new week, and I'm delighted to be joined this morning by Edel McCarthy, who is the head of sponsorship with Electric Ireland. We're here to talk about a number of different things, from the higher education championships in the GAA through touching on darkness into light. But first of all, we want to talk about the Electric Ireland Minor Championships, which got underway to a successful start over the weekend and were prefaced by what was a wonderful advertisement that we saw on Friday night breaking out there. How difficult, Edel, has it been to plan and work through sponsorship of a championship that you were never fully sure was actually going to get underway?
Honestly, Rob, it's been pretty hard. I mean, no more than anyone else in any other walk of life, it's been really hard to try and look around corners and, polish our crystal balls and try and actually figure out what is going to go ahead. So, and obviously it's been really clear that the GAA have had a very challenging time in terms of trying to plan this championship and other championships. So it has been tough. I suppose the approach that we have taken is the one that we've always taken when we, I suppose, approach the minor championships. The minors is about the minor players, and it's about that very unique stage in a 17-year-old's life. And that's really what we've always tried to focus on through our activation and our communications. And that's what makes the minors very different to some of the other championships, and definitely is its uniqueness. So we took that focus again with the radio advertisement that's running at the moment, and really has tried to shine a light on the very different 2020 that those minor players have had, no more than anybody else. They have had their lives really turned upside down by COVID. No school, no socializing, no friends, no romance, so no sport, no training, no matches. So their lives have been very much impacted, and we just really wanted to, I suppose, shine a light on that. So yeah, we're really happy with the way the campaign has come together.
I must admit, I was particularly blown away by the radio ad running through last week, and we'll play it out at the end of this interview. I just think it's pretty special for something which is so iconic. The ad had been running since 2014, but to have it updated in that way was really good. And then the new series of ads breaking about looking at those stories as well is very strong. You're bringing back the players of the week. There's going to be a lot of social media activity, and the teams of the year as well. Young people they've been given a tough time over the last number of weeks and months as well. And I don't think anybody is out there deliberately trying to spread coronavirus, but some of the accusations that have been leveled at this generation have been so. Is that really an important part? Because you're sponsors of youth sport across the board in colleges, which we'll talk about afterwards. But is that important for you as a brand to really empathize and to almost lend a shoulder for that generation to lean on?
Like it is, I think, and it's always been a key part of how we approach, be it the minors or HEC or Young St. Vincent de Paul or whatever it is that we are sponsoring. It's about the people who are involved. Yes, it's about the fan experience, and it's about the competition and the championship. But at the end of the day, and I think 2020 has made us all take a much more empathic and human view of the world. It is about those players, and they're more than just sports players. They are people who are living at home with their parents, and they have siblings, and they have friends they're not seeing, and they have a massive chunk of their life that has been on hold or not happened this year. So I think we just wanted to kind of just remind people about that. And yeah, it's definitely, I suppose, a bit of a juxtaposition against some of that narrative that is ongoing around maybe varying age groups' attitudes to the coronavirus.
The Electric Ireland support of Darkness into Light has always been very special. This year again was very different, but very impactful, and that goes across the generations. Again, trying to do something which is about community and about supporting individuals in a very individual sense. What was the thinking behind moving that into the individual sense. And I know you had a really good partnership with RTE on it as well, but that must have been, again, just challenging if you can remember back to those days back in May.
Yeah, no, it was. I mean, the Darkness into Light campaign was particularly challenging this year. We made the decision that it would have to be at best postponed just before the country went into lockdown. That obviously resulted in an absolutely potentially catastrophic funding crisis for Pieta, who are trying to do such incredible work. And we're also dealing with all of the things that every other organisation we're dealing with in terms of getting people set up to work from home, to continue to provide their vital life-saving work from home. So it was tougher. It was almost tougher back then, I think, because, you know, if you remember in March, we thought this might go on for a few weeks, and then we thought it might go on for a few months. So even trying to, you know, look around corners, and actually, I think it was Easter weekend, we actually realised there would be no proper, for want of a better expression, Darkness into Light this year. So then we had to look at an alternative plan B at a time when the entire charity sector was in crisis, and there was an awful lot of competition from really great causes and great organisations who were also struggling to meet their funding requirements to carry out their own service provision. So there was a lot of really great people working in our own organisation, within Pieta, within our agencies. RTE were an incredible partner in it, I have to be honest. You know, it's the first dedicated late show to a charity cause, and it just came up very organically as we were planning for to take that charity feature the night that should be the night of Darkness into Light. So look, we got a great result. It was, you know, semi-miraculous actually when we're looking back on it now. But it is, I think it's hard for all organisations at the moment to try and plan activity against, you know, changing customer sentiment and consumer attitudes and trends, and just such a quickly evolving, you know, landscape that we're all trying to do our best against.
I think you've been doing as good a job as anybody, better than most. The organisation obviously is in the provision of electrical supply, so you're an essential service which has actually kept people going. Sponsorship is a part of that, and one of your key sponsorships has been, as we mentioned earlier, the higher education competitions, the Sigerson, the Fitzgibbon, hugely important in terms of student life, identity of people as they go through life. They still recall back to their days of generally glory in those competitions. What is, in your mind, the prospect of getting those competitions up and running? Because it looks as though it's a long way away, looking forward towards the late winter, early spring of 2021, but it's still going to be a challenge given the whole sense of the education sector being under pressure at third level.
Yeah, look, it's really hard to know. I mean, we're still clutching onto the sides of our seats in terms of the minors, and you know, we're not alone in that. You know, so it feels like such a long time now. I think one of the politicians this morning was describing it as, you know, 2 6-week chunks really to Christmas. So thinking of anything beyond Christmas really it feels like a bit of a leap at this stage. But look, we're just going to have to wait and see. You know, I mean, we had a great HEC championship this year and a great campaign. You know, we had, I suppose, taken it into our sponsorship fold because we really appreciated, again, some of that sentiment that you talked about. Anyone who has played Sigerson or played Fitzgibbon, you know, you're hearing about it for the rest of their lives. It's a massive part of their own lives, and it's also a massive part of the college calendar. So so look, we'll just have to keep our fingers crossed and wait and see.
You mentioned a couple of times about the challenge of preparing for things which might or might not happen. There are so many lessons that are going to come out of this whole year, this whole period, from the perspective of somebody who is at the top of the marketing game here. What do you think we will have learned from the experience of going through a pandemic and a shutdown of our society that will make us stronger when we do eventually emerge from it?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I think in as much as people have really missed training and sport and missed socializing and holidays and everything else, I think there is a bit of that move back to a simpler way of life. You know, people are very focused on their homes. They have a bit of a nesting outlook now. I think that's why Woodies and all of those are so overrun every weekend. People are focused on cooking better, spending quality time with their kids, and a kind of a slightly slower, maybe more wholesome pace of life. I think that's something that will definitely carry in and have a big offset. I know there's a lot of talk of the last, the Spanish flu, that there was the big, I suppose, reaction to that afterwards was the roaring 20s. So maybe we do have a roaring 20s ahead of us, but I do think we have a little bit of a reminder of kind of what's important, and a very, I suppose, close sense of our own household, our family, our community. And I think that will have a long legacy.
It's great that we'll be able to look forward to the hopeful conclusion of the minor championship, the Sigerson, the Fitzgibbon, Darkness into Light in 2021 as well, and whatever we emerge that will replace the Flappers and the Charleston in our roaring 20s for our age. It has been a pleasure, as always, chatting to you, Edel. We're going to play out now with the advertisement, the first in a series of 4 that you will be producing over the coming weeks, and then with the radio treatment as well, which I must admit is one of my favourites of the year so far. But for now, Edel McCarthy from Electric Ireland, thank you very much.
Thank you, Rob.
Being named Monaghan Minor Captain for 2020 meant the world to me. But then my world turned upside down as my grandmother passed away from COVID-19. With no matches taking place, I tried to do something positive. When I heard that a teammate's little sister was seriously ill, the Monaghan Minor panel pulled together to plan a sponsored walk to get Millie the vital medical care she needs. There's nothing minor about that.
The Electric Ireland GAA Minor Championships. This is major. What a time to turn 17. Months in your prime on pause, classrooms gone, training gone, summer slipped by. No face-to-face, let alone the shift. And don't even start on the leaving. Everything upturned, hard lessons learned. But sit and dwell? Never. Go harder than ever. All ready to make up for lost time. Staying focused, staying sharp, standing together. A united front for the future, however it plays out. Times like these teach you everything you need to know about yourself. The Electric Ireland GAA Minor Championships. This is major.